me share my screen. You guys hear me clearly?
Yeah.
All right. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Let's see it.
All right. I know we decided on two classes.
Wait,
Um,
wait.
say, say again?
I have a question.
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
If I want to clone something, what happens to my code?
Clone as in. So anytime you clone, the idea of cloning is you're not. So I think what you mean is pull. Like, let's say you already have a code base in your machine, right? And
Uh-huh.
if you pull it, you'll get the latest updates against it. If your code conflicts with the code you're pulling, there's no need to worry because it won't fully commit to it. You'll just get a conflict. Say again?
Your farm code,
Yeah.
isn't that cloning? Like if I
Yeah,
were
yeah,
to
yeah.
put
Because you don't have it in your machine just yet, right?
it,
Yeah. So what you usually want to do is you want to go to any directory that's empty and just clone it there.
what do
Uh,
you mean? Like where would I go?
all right. Let me see. Let's pull up your screen. But you guys didn't look over the code or anything, or did you look over the video at least?
Yeah, I did the video.
Yeah.
I saw it on GitHub, but like
Repeated it.
I
Yeah.
don't want to like put my code.
As long as you reviewed it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what you mean by clone, but I just copy and pasted it all into new
Stuff like if I were to clone,
effects.
like overwrite all this stuff,
Share your screen.
you don't see it.
No. All right.
Like
Yeah, I can see it.
this is my stuff, but like if I were to clone your farm code,
Yeah.
wouldn't it like, delete all this?
So that looks like so the farm code is a completely different project.
Yeah. So what happens to my project if I do that?
Oh, that's still gonna be there because all you'd have to do is okay. Let me give you an example. Create wherever you put that project, right? Just go to that same directory using the terminal.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Oh, okay. So I go to workspace.
You put it there, yeah. All right. So Java review is whatever you have in Eclipse right now. All Eclipse is doing is it's tracking it, right? So you could modify that without directly going into the files, right? Through the file system, right? So if you want to clone it, you wouldn't want to touch Java review, right? Because that would overwrite the project. Or I don't even know. I never cloned the top of a previous project, so I don't know if it overwrites it, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be a merge conflict.
Okay,
What-
so we're supposed to have a separate folder for that?
Yeah. It's basically anything. Think of a new project as just a separate folder. So if you want, you could git clone it right now. Let's see what happens.
Wait, how do I make a new folder on the terminal?
You don't even need to do that because as soon as you clone it into this folder you're currently on, right? This code boost folder. If you git clone it, you don't even. It makes a new project for you by default. So think of a new project as a new folder. So it just does that for you automatically. As long as you're in the proper directory where you want all your projects to be, you're good.
So I can get clone or something?
Yep.
And like that?
Yep, there you go. All right, so if you open that, you'll see that the farm project is right there, right? Now you only have one more step. So you have it right now, right there. Everything is there, right? Now you just got to get it into Eclipse.
So now I just open it on Eclipse.
Yeah.
I will open file.
There you go. Let's see. Why is it?
Open it. Do I click one of these?
Let me see. Oh, no, my bad. What you do is import it. So
Oh.
yeah, cancel that. Yeah, I forgot. Import. Yeah, file import. Yeah. So yep, that's it. Existing projects. All right, now you'll see. Yep.
Do I have to click any of these?
No, you should be good.
Okay.
All right, there you go. All right, let's see if everything is there.
Is it this one?
Yeah, it's the same thing as before. Yep, that looks good.
So if I run like the main on this, it won't.
No, it won't. It's a completely separate project. Eclipse will know that anytime it sees a separate main method, it tracks those classes in that file alone. So you go to, I don't know if we even went that far where, okay, we add chicken. All right, try it if you want. Just as long as there are no errors. I forgot if we had any errors last time, but try to hit run, see what happens. Yep, there you go. You see, I remember we coded the chicken logic where when you add too many chickens, it throws, if it decreases the size enough, there's not going to be any space left, and there's not enough space. So everything is good. So yes, it won't be as straightforward a lot of times. Like this is very straightforward because we didn't use any classes that we didn't create or that the JDK, the Java Development Kit, doesn't have itself. A lot of times what happens is you got to run additional commands, and it's better to see it when it happens, but yeah, it won't be as this simple a lot of times.
Going forward, I would have to make a new folder or whatever every time for the homework.
No. Well, depends. If we continue to work on this, no, since you know how this is like a different project, we're just gonna be committing against this, right? So what we'll do is today I'm just gonna push whatever code we develop into this. So instead of cloning, you would just pull it from the master branch or whatever branch.
All right.
Yeah.
Continue.
Okay. All right. So instead of reviewing what we went over last time, which I put over here, the same thing you saw in Foz Machine, I'm gonna start from scratch just to give you guys a brief review. Like I got the execute class. I didn't post anything else. You just see one package, and I'm just gonna slowly go through it, like just logically, just so just to rehash your memory. And I'm gonna try to see how much you guys picked up. So obviously, as usual, we start with nothing, right? As you're familiar with. Obviously don't look at the code you have in your machine to see how much you could recall. Just minimize it if you have to. And just tell me what we were doing. Like, obviously, first, just to give you guys, like a little leg room, let me put at least a few of the packages. And I'll chip in when we need to, but mostly this should be for review. Ideally, so I know you guys wanted 2 classes, but I'm actually thinking I'm going to try to keep it within the 90-minute range because we don't actually have that much more remaining. So there doesn't need to be a separate lecture technically. Ideally, I want you to get to that Pokemon project just to really cement these concepts into your head. And, after today's lesson, I just want you to I'm going to try to make it one lesson, actually. Because if I make it another Friday lesson, then I don't want to push off the the ideas, and it'll be just too separated. So I'm going to try to stack as much in here as possible, and I'll add supplemental videos if we need. But ideally, I want to stack it into this one lesson, so you could start working on the Pokemon project technically right away. Okay, let's begin. So first of all, we came up on the basic idea of how do we just get the area of a square. How do we best represent it? So anyone just shout it out if you want. How do we start? So say right now, and I'll put out objectives and you just call it out. So get area of square. How will we start?
Int length, int width. And then int area equals length times width.
Yeah, but tell me exactly what to do here. Because from that I could say like int area, whatever, right? What's the optimal way of doing it?
We're supposed to make like Java classes for every shape.
Right.
So you on the main class, you just wanna like have all that ready on a separate class.
Right. So, tell me exactly what you want me to do.
So you make a square class
Okay, where?
in the shapes package or
Okay.
something. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, see what you mean.
Right. Keep
Then
going.
you do what I said.
Then
With
Okay, so go on, Merman. What'd you say?
int length, int width, int area.
Okay.
Then int area equals length times width.
That's
Oh
it.
no, you would
Yeah.
you'd create a what do you call that class? No, a method. It's inside this class.
Okay.
Call it whatever public class get area.
Okay. Anything wrong with this so far?
you have to make a constructor for square.
Yep. Okay. But that's not what was exactly. Let's focus on that in a bit. Anything wrong with this get area method?
But you need to put in the variables in
Actually
parentheses.
return something.
Yeah, it has to return something, right? Because if I do this, square equals new square, right? And if I wanted to, well, let's say, let me import the square. And if I wanted to do this, there's nothing being returned, right? So it would, I think it will print a null or just it will throw an error. Let's see. Yeah, so there's an error right there because it's saying the method print line is not, whatever it's spitting out, it's not applicable, right? It's not getting anything. So how do we fix that?
You do return.
Right away, right now there's already something wrong. Like, what is it? Don't even focus on what's inside. You're right. There's a return statement I'm waiting for, but what's wrong with this method signature?
Void.
Yeah. What do I change that to?
Just erase it, I guess.
A what?
Int. Oh,
Yeah, because it's returning an int, right? Because I'm spitting out, well, length times width. We're assuming this, length times width are both integers. Multiply them, you still get an integer, so you return. All right, keep going.
Return. Area.
Yep. Okay.
I guess you gotta put in what area is, which is length times width.
Right. But we have the area variable. There's nothing wrong with that. How do we make sure that it gets calculated and everything? Because right now, if I return area, there's no value. This is technically a 0. Remember, Java with integers, they initialize to 0 right away. So say I was trying to get the area right here. Right? What would let me see. Yeah, I have to save. A lot of times you'll see an underline red indicating there's something wrong, but you just usually just save it. All right, so if I were to, as it is, if I were to hit run, what would happen? Right now, what would it print?
Nothing.
Nothing, you're saying?
Let me see. Let me see the square class.
Okay.
It would return the area.
Which is
Right now, there's no like defined like number.
right. So what would it return?
I don't think it would return nothing. I think.
Let's see.
0, maybe.
Yep, 0. Because remember, with integers, yeah, there is nothing. And with classes, if you created a class here instead of an integer, since we didn't do anything with them, it'll return 0. Okay, so how do we alleviate that? How do we? Let's say I wanted a 5x5 square. How do I go about doing that? Where such that this prints 25. Fi, you were saying before. Go on that idea.
You gotta make a constructor for square.
Okay. How do I?
Well, Well, a constructor only uses the name of the class.
Right.
It'd be like public square.
Yep.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you have multiple constructors as long as the parameters are different?
Yep. I actually wanted to mention that exact same thing. So, for instance, let's say for whatever weird reason you wanted to just make it, well, finish up square and then we'll tackle that. So, how would you go about doing it such that anytime I create a square class, it's automatically defined with the, parameters. So you don't have to, for instance, have a separate method to calculate the area. How do I go about doing that?
Square always has a length and a width, so you wanna like those values. So
Into length, into width.
Yep. Okay. Am I done?
No, so
like the syntax for this part. So
Right. So remember, are these different or the same? Length, width, length, width.
what do you mean?
Am I referring to the same thing when I say int length over here versus int length over here? Are these the same variables?
no, so you would say, this dot length
Right.
equals
Length?
Yep. Why? Because look, just scroll over. You see, it's referring to this, right? And anytime you get confused, just double click it. Eclipse helps you out with it, right? So what you're trying to do is lock up a length value here, right? This is only so when I define it here. Right now, there's no numbers here, but when I put the numbers here, it needs something to be referenced, right? So if I put, for instance, 5 by 5 here, which I didn't do yet because we didn't completely finish up creating the constructor. It's going to take that 5 and saying, what is that 5? We define it right here. That 5 is the length, or it could be the width. And we're saying, all right, we'll lock it up in here, lock it up in here. So keep going.
so this dot width equals width.
Okay.
Then you would do this area
Okay.
equals length times width.
Yep. And just to clarify, this means Berm was, taking the parameters, but he could have easily, just because he already did it in line 10, 11, he already locked up the values in here. So if you wanted, and here it's not that important, you could have used either or, but what else could you have done? Berm or anyone, what do you think you could have also done? Slight variation. Still, I want the area, but a slight variation. Any ideas?
You mean like this dot length
Yeah,
times
exactly.
this dot width?
Yep. Right, and let's see what happens because he locked it up here, right? He has to have done that first, right? But let's see if it works. There you go, 25. So it worked, right? He took the values and he's saying lock it up here, and then at the same time store the area value here by multiplying the length and width with which you already locked up. Okay. So next, what's the next shape we wanted to focus on?
Cube?
Right. What's the interesting? Why is it that we focused on a cube and not a triangle?
Reason. A square, a cube can use a square.
Yeah, it's a very similar properties to a square, right? All right, so let's start with the cube. Okay, and here, just as before, what we want to do is, obviously, this is not how we wanted a cube. Just think back to how we wanted it, and just like a square, all I want to do is, well, you're not getting a autofill in method because we didn't define it yet. So ultimately, I want to create a cube just as I did the square, right? And I want to put the area. So what would you do with the cube?
You want to extend from the square class
Why?
because there's already like pre-made methods that can be used in the cube class.
Anything else except the methods?
Constructor.
Well, a length and a width, right?
Yeah, like
Okay, it's already defined. So what is it that a cube has that a square doesn't?
depth.
Right. So put that here. Extend from a square, right? All right. Continue.
And
Remember,
then
just actually, yeah. Let me get used to putting these side by side so you guys could get the complete picture. Let me extend this.
so you make a cube constructor.
Yeah, we're getting to it. But I wanted you to, fill the blanks in. I'm just I'm purposefully leaving details out. Okay. So very logical fashions from a square to a cube to the execute class, right? So this will be easier for you. Okay. Now tell me anything. Just help me fill this in. Clearly, it's not just depth. Cube has.
So, did you make the constructors a public cube? Then it has 3, so it would be int length, int width, int depth.
Okay.
Then you're supposed to bring in the length and width from the. There was some term. There's something you're supposed to use. Okay, you could do. After you would do this dot depth equals.
Right. So we can start off with that, the easy part, right? And so it doesn't interfere with the square. There's no depth value in square, which is why it's highlighting here and not highlighting anything here. Okay.
Then there's something that's supposed to go there to.
Anyone
bring
remember
in,
the keyword?
I forget what it was.
Yes, you remember? So Berm locked in the depth value in a cube, right? That he got. Now, but before we mention the keyword, explain to me why you need that keyword and what you're trying to exactly do with it.
You're bringing in whatever is locked into the length and width.
Oh, my mic was muted, sorry.
That's fine. Yeah, but you're on the right track, Berm. Keep going.
You're bringing in the length and width that's locked into the square class.
That we're about to put in here, right? So let me put it here for easier. Cube class, right? Because you're spitting in a length, a width, and a depth. Depth is 5. It's locked in here, right? So how do you lock in the length and the width? You haven't done it because there's no length and width values here, right?
Right.
Right. So keep going.
Yeah, so you got to bring it in from the square class.
Explain what you mean. Just tell me exactly what you want me to type. If you want me to fill it in, let me know. But unless you want more time, but you're very close.
Well, I don't know I forget what it is that you're supposed to type, so I can't really say that. But you're bringing in. You're gonna say, public class. Well, you're bringing in the length and width.
Right, from here. I only stopped you because you said bringing the length width from square. I get what you're saying, but you're not bringing in the length and width from square. You're just taking these values. I just wanted you to explain it with correct terminology. So you're bringing the 3 and 4. It's accepting the 3 and 4, but it's not locking it up here. But remember, we extended it, so where's it locking up? Right here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the way to lock it up was this. Right? What happens when we run this?
Calls the constructor.
Right, calls the constructor. So referring to the super, so you need 2 items anytime you want to, practice inheritance. So since cube is extending from the square, right? That's why constructors are so, you'll see they look just like functions, but they have specific differences. So super this idea can only be inside of a constructor. Why? Because it's referring to the constructor over here, right? All right. Let me see why it's throwing this in there. Oh, it's a slight little quirk of it. Anytime you use a super, I'm not really sure why, but it's got to be the first term here. All right, so we erase that error. Let me see what's going on here. This is red because, we didn't import cube. All right, so everything is good so far. Okay, anything else?
Well, then you gotta get the area of the cube
Okay.
or the volume, I guess. You do so same thing. You do this area.
Where?
Right after this dot depth comes up.
Okay.
This dot area equals. You would do. This area, this dot area times depth.
Oh, very good. Because I was actually thinking you would do, the whole, this dot length times width. Because technically you did lock up the length, but because Square had already, calculated the length here, you don't want to. So you could have easily said this. I'm actually glad you brought this up because, I had tunnel vision. I was actually thinking length width area today. So Berm could have said this. This dot area equals this dot length. Because technically he locked in the length here times this dot width, because again he took that width, and because of that superconstructor it's locked up in here, right? And technically he could have done this because he also locked in the depth here. He could have multiplied the depth. Let's see if that works. No errors, and this would have been right. But again, always get in the habit of saying shortcuts and abuse them, because that's the key to becoming a good programmer. Already you see you half length the difference with a simple quirk. It just makes your code more elegant looking and easier to decipher. But he saw that this dot area, because super was calling the constructor, just follow the trace, just trace what exactly is going on. Super refers to the constructor here, and the area function is already placed in that area variable right here. So this dot area is locked up in here, and technically since it's a cube, the only thing left to do is multiply it by depth. So that was a really good catch. All right. Okay, so let's see if that works. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 times 5 is 60. Yeah. There you go. All right. Now what's next? All right, now we did all that, right? And now because we defined out the cube class, we could start the farm example, the actual farm part. So let me X out.
Are we redoing the whole project like here?
Yeah. I'm just gonna go through it really quick. We didn't actually get into too much, so I'm just gonna review it, and then we'll keep adding more to it. This is just a quick rehash. Yeah. All right, square. We'll take all of this out because now since it's a farm, we're not dealing with cubes anymore technically. So what do we do now? So right off the bat, I'll make the animals because since it's a farm exam, you can expect animals, so you could do that. And containers, because ultimately I want to get my animals and get my containers, because the idea again was to you're a farmer and you have fixed set of containers, right? Like we said before, in the abstract world, cubes can be any areas, but in the real world, you only have a specific defined, containers. And we define it as small container, medium container, and large container. So, all right, I'll let you guys take it away. Let's start with let's create one animal. I know I created a bunch before that, but it was a little confusing, I realized. So let's say you want to create a pig, a nice medium-sized animal. All right, so I want to put that pig in a container, right? So take it from here. So this is just going to be a quick review, and then we'll go back to where we left off, which wasn't that far. How do I start out with the containers? So I want a small, medium, and large container. So don't even think too much of it. Just let's start, right? And just tell me what to type, and then it'll quickly come to mind.
Should we be adding? So pig wasn't in the original one. Should I add it now?
That's fine. That's fine. I'll fix that later. You shouldn't even be looking at the code. I'll push our results from what we get today into
Oh, okay.
I'll
okay.
overwrite the code. Yeah. Okay. So go on. So obviously, as a farmer, that's like the extent of the example. As a farmer, I only have a small container, a medium container, and a large container. I have different sized animals, right? And I'm just trying to store them, right? So okay, so right off the bat, how do I abstract out having three different containers? How do I start?
You can create a base like generic container, and then you could have like different sizes that extend using the general stuff you add to the container class. So you'll have a container class and then three different sizes.
Right.
And like no matter what size it is, it's always gonna have like a length, width, depth, or whatever.
Right.
So you just extend from the generic container.
Yeah. Well, we
And
didn't go over.
build off that,
I don't think
depending
we
on-
went over generic containers, did we?
Well, I by generic I mean like, like just a, as in plain English, just generic container, as in it doesn't necessarily have a size. It just has those variables like length, width, depth.
For now, I get what you're saying, and we're gonna bring in generic containers. But I don't think I don't go over that last time. So for now, let's just start with large, medium, and small, because right now, technically, you have no need for a generic container. No, not even. Let me make sure I know what I'm saying. Yeah. Don't worry about the generic container right now. Just worry about small, medium, large. Just off the bat, this is not a trick question. Just how would you tackle having three different containers? We'll get to generic containers later. So how anyone? What do I start with?
You would, well, first you want to put in the size of the pig.
Yeah, you could do that. Well, we could start with that. Let's just say 5.
Okay, and then you make a class called, a method called, get size.
Hang on, let me see why this is throwing me an error. Oh, my bad. Size equals 5. All right, keep going. Sorry about that. You were saying?
Oh, then you make a, shit, hold on, I keep getting a call, hold on. Somebody else can answer.
5.
Why did you put public?
Oh, you can do private. That was my bad. You're right. Since this.
No, like why do you have to put that?
Oh yeah, no,
Like,
that's actually a good
just-
question, and I wanted to bring that up. All right, so let me show you why I do it private and not public. So there's a thing with classes. So say for instance, right now we technically have, this is all we need. We don't even need this. If I were to comment that out, I could just do pig equals new pig. You don't actually need a constructor. Let me show you. If I import the pig, there's not going to be any errors, right? Because there's always going to be an implicit constructor anytime you create a class, right? So you don't need anything, right? At times you do want to change the variables. They call it fields when it's inside a class. So sometimes you do want to let the end user, and what I mean by that is someone who's using your code base. Sometimes you might want to let them modify the values, but since the size, think about it. The size is inherent to pig. It's not gonna really change much, especially in our example when we're just talking about very bare bones, like you got a chicken which is smaller than a pig which is smaller than a cow, right? In our example, at least. So this is not going to be subject to change, especially in our example. Let's see what happens when we make it public. So there's nothing. See, so far there's no errors, right? But now the value is 1, right? And that kind of destroys it's not a huge deal here, right? Because this class isn't affecting all types of other classes. But if a end user mistake, sorry, if an end user mistakenly changes, one of your variables, that could screw up a whole bunch of other dependencies, and all of a sudden, without getting an actual error, like a runtime error, the logic is completely skewed, right? And in here, it's easy to track, but in larger projects, it's not. So let's see what happens. So right here, we're able to do pig.size equals 1. So let's see what happens when we make it private. So I already do pig dot here. See, all of these, so, okay, the reason you see methods regardless is because all classes, you know how we extended a cube from a square, right? All classes, including that cube, including that square, including that execute, including that pig class, every class in Java extends from a very top level class called an object, right? And all these methods belong to an object. But notice, that's just inherent, right? But notice that when we put pig dot here, you're not seeing size anywhere. I can scroll up, I can scroll down, whereas in here we were, right? So if I were to do this, pig dot, see, already it's stopped working. Pig dot size equals 1. Let's see what the error is. See, visibility. And that's a idea called encapsulation. It's not as important as the rest of this stuff I'm going to teach, but it's not that it's not important. It's just something you grasp as you get used to coding in Java. But that's why it's saying, hey, you can't access that size value. You made it private here, right? Since it says private. So if I just say this, there's auto correctors. You can make it a public, right? So just a small little thing to keep track of. But I'm glad you pointed it out. But yeah, this should be private because a pig, like we said, logically that class, as how a pig behaves or a cow behaves, you don't want to change around that size at the least, right? All right. I'm glad you brought that up because this actually ties into another idea we're going to get into shortly. All right. So ultimately, we want to put that pig in a container, right? And you don't have to give me the right answer, but how do I start doing that? All I have is a pig. So right now we could say that it does have a size of 5, right? Now keep going. How do I get it into a container? Just tell me whatever I need to type to at least represent the idea of getting it into a container.
Like in the execute class?
Well, it could be anywhere. It could be over here. It could be here. But obviously, there's a lot of things I didn't fill out here. And you can slowly, maximize your code. Don't overdo it. But, if you needed a hint, open it up and tell me what I have to do. But I do want you to reason it out. So right now, it's just store the pig in container. Go ahead.
Don't we have to make the containers?
Yeah. So
Stuff.
So go on. See, I already have the container packaged to you. That was a hint. So how do I start doing that? Let's just say container for now. So at the very least, we have that, right? It's empty, right? So ultimately, I want to. How do I start representing adding pigs? Let's say pig for now. Don't worry about other animals. How do I start representing having a pig in a container? Well, first of all, no, keep going.
By size?
What do you mean?
Like it starts off at a certain size, and then when you add
it reduces the size, right? Yeah. So higher level view, everyone understands what's happening, right? A container has a fixed space, and you put another item with fixed space in it, it's just gonna keep decreasing the area, right? So keep going. How do you you just start filling it in, and then we'll kind of spread out into medium, small, large. But how do I just continue?
Um,
And you could maximize the other code if you want. We did go over it, so if you need a refresher, feel free. I just want you to verbalize it.
let me see.
Yeah.
So we have to say what the width, height, and depth are for each size of containers.
Right. So a container has a width, height, and depth, right? What does that remind you of?
Cube.
Right. It's a cube. So what do I do from here?
You need to just extend cube.
Okay, we can start from there. And don't worry if you don't barely understand why you're doing something you're doing, because the more I type in, the more it'll come to fruition. So, right, extends cube. Why am I getting that error? Actually, don't answer that. It's not a big deal just yet. Okay, so a container resembles a cube. Keep going.
And then I'm a little confused on what to do here since it's kind of like the same thing now.
So right now it resembles a cube. So let's look at the cube class. Basically, it has a length, width, and a depth, right?
Yes.
So what can you do with the container though? Like now we start really defining a container. What makes it a container? And cube is very abstract. It's a shape, but what makes a container? For this example, what can we start doing?
You put in exact numbers for this container?
Yeah, we could do that. Let's assume right now that this container is, let's not mess around with, units of measurement. Let's just say whatever, 2, 2, 2, right? Because the pig was a value of 5, and this would be for 8. So this would, but how do I start representing that? So you're right, and that's a cube. How do I continue? And let me, I keep forgetting, so you guys have to remind me. So it'll make more sense if you have everything kind of splayed out. So you got the pig. Sorry.
Should containers be in separate classes, like the sizes?
Let me give me a second. Say again?
Should the containers be in separate classes?
Yeah, right. So obviously I want a medium container, a small container, and a large container. But for now, let's just focus on one container. We'll separate them later. For now, let's just assume there's one container of size 8, 2 times 2 times 2, right? It's a cube. So how do I start representing that? Let's assume this has a fixed size. How do I represent that?
You just say, size int size equals.
Tell me exactly what you want me to type.
Yeah, you can just put like,
And if you don't know the answer, just you don't have to know the answer right away. Just tell me anything that's missing. That kind of, as I type it out, it'll start hitting you. So right off the bat, what am I missing? What do all classes contain?
Methods?
fields.
Not fields, not methods. I showed you guys where before, I could take out the pig class, right? Where it's right here. If I were to comment this out, there's nothing wrong with having. I guess so. Technically, what does every class contain, even if I don't write it explicitly?
Constructor.
Right, exactly. So the thing is, there is a necessity to define out the constructor here. So what would I define it out as? Just fill this in.
Public container.
Okay.
And then everything that a cube takes is required. And then, if you want to add anything, as in the parameters.
Okay. And so what do we agree the parameters are?
So length, width, depth.
Right.
then-
But if I were to do this, right? Like let's say this is what you mean. I'm assuming that's what you mean, right? For now, just for argument's sake. Length, width, and depth, right? And obviously, since you extend it, you would technically do the same thing to give it, shape, right? So I could do this. And everything would be, let me see why this is, sometimes, it's a small dumb problems like that. All right, so let's say I did this, and why is it that I could easily just say super length width depth and assume container has area?
Well, because you're calling the constructor for cube right? And the constructor for cube already does the area.
Exactly. So it already, did actually, well, I don't have the square out, but square did the area. And obviously
Yeah.
before we realized, all cube did was, multiply the depth to the area, which is already in square, which is correct. Okay. So what's the problem with this though? Given our example.
I guess maybe you can like simplify it just to size.
So yeah, you're on the right track. I get what you're saying, but I want you to so obviously the XU class contains everything, enforces everything, right? So what's stopping someone? What's the problem with me doing this?
You gotta make it private.
Hang on. Let me just import it. Don't worry about the private part, but like the important part was, what do we say, given our example, what do we want? The container, you don't want the user to have all these types of options, right? Because we said right here, we wanted this to have a specific value. I wanted it to have a specific shape, or else the end user can create, 555, right?
Yeah, so you don't, since you don't want them to control the dimensions more
Exactly.
than like small, medium, large, you can just you can accept like that you want size 1, so that already has specific
Exactly.
length, width, and stuff.
Right. So how do I do that? How do I control it so the end user behaves exactly how I want him to behave?
You only accept, for the container constructor, you only accept like size, and then you call super on length, width, this dot length, this dot width, and
Right.
dot depth.
Right, very close, but remember here, I guess it's confusing because last week we did small, medium, and large. But the idea was, since I don't want the end user to control end length width, I just delete it. So he doesn't have any of that control, right? And since we
Yeah.
said right now we wanted a 2x2x2 container, just put it in there.
So there's only one container size.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was easy to miss, but so here basically well, for now I'm gonna have a medium, large, medium later, but I'm saying for now, for simplicity's sake, and just to start out again and review, I'm assuming one container of a fixed size of 2x2x2, right? So that way, if someone else was using this program, he wouldn't be able to do this, right? He'd have to accept the fact that this container is of size 8, right? Okay. And we'll branch out later, just as we did last week. I know there's a small and medium, but for now, what else do I do? So I got the container now. What size is this? Okay, I should say, what would I get if I do this? Well, okay. How do I get the size? Let's say, how do I get the area of this? And I want you guys the rest of you to chip in too, because Ish is, obviously he's gonna understand this a little more.
You want the size of the container?
Right. So exactly. The area, I should say.
Well, okay. Extends cube. So you could just do
Can't you just do get area?
Exactly. So tell me exactly what I want to type. Remember, all I
Container.
want to do is print out the area. So how do I do that of that container?
system.out, print line, container dot get area.
Yeah. And why is it that I'm able to, use that method despite container clearly not containing get area?
So this from extending cube.
Right. Which extends this, which contains the get area, right? All right, let's see what happens. All right, you got the 8, right? So that's it. You got the 8 from that container, right? And let's continue. So now we got a fixed length container. Now I want to add the pig. How do I add the pig? And just take your time with it. I know this was like a large concept to get, but basically anytime I want to add the pig, remember, just like real life, it has a fixed size. The fixed size container has to store something, and then it loses space anytime you add anything into it. So how do I represent that? And we start slowly, but everything, the logic will be in here, right? So slowly, think through it and give me your answer.
Wait, can you ask it again?
Yeah, sure. So I got all right, let me put the pig below it. So I got the container, we could see that it has a fixed area, just like we intended it, right? But now I got this pig here, and I want the container to, perform its, purpose, right? So how do I begin having this container, this instance of the container, I should say? How should I have this instance of the container start, adding the pig into it?
You want to put the pig in the container?
Yeah. How do I do it? Just tell me exactly what you want me to type. Could be wrong, could be right, I don't care.
I guess you'd have to get the size of the pig, maybe.
Okay, let's add that. So okay, you wanted me to modify the pig. So we got the pig, we got the container, right? And since we already knew cube, all the cube extensions, I'll remove that for now. So these are the let me X that out too, in fact. So these are the main classes in question: to execute, the container, the pig, and obviously the container and pig aren't completely, finished out. So go on with what you're saying.
Wait, hold on.
The pig needs to return a value, doesn't it?
Right. So let's start with the pig for now, right? How do I, so now we did make it private, this size value. So we can't just do this. Pig dot size, nothing comes up. So what do we at least start? Since this is private, we don't want the end user to be able to change it by doing pig dot size equals 2044, because that's not the size of the pig, right? He could have easily done that. So we privatized it. But, and this is the concept I wanted to kind of extend off from what Fa was bringing up earlier. How do we give the end user that permission to access this value of size without directly referencing size?
Just call pig or something? I don't know.
You could look into your, yeah, go ahead.
You make a method.
Right. And that's just, standard protocol. Usually anytime you want to let the end user, be able to interact with your function, your class without changing the values around, you lean on methods. So what do I type?
To public int get size.
Exactly, yeah. So even though it fulfills the same thing, and I'm glad you said public, because that's actually the right answer. But before I continue on this, finish it out. What do I do now?
You return the size.
All right, yeah, nothing. So this is a good time to bring up encapsulation, and that's the whole idea of it. So pig dot get size, and unlike size, this is accessible. Fa, what do you think that is? So why was I able to say print line
public?
Right. So you see that's the only thing different from these two, right? So if I did pig dot get size, you get the correct size value of 5, right? And all it's saying is, like, my end user, right? He can, just like the constructor, just like how we limited the end user's ability to modify it. That's the same thing with any class, except this now it deals with methods. And get size doesn't let you alter, which you could have defined. And since all you wanted to return the size, you privatize the size because you only want to let this. We have complete control, and we could have done this. We could have done this dot size equals this dot size plus 50, right? And for our sake, let me see what's going on here. Oh, return statement. And then we could have just returned this dot size, right? That's our call, right? And in here, if I were to print this, you get that 55 value, because me as the actual class creator, I should have that right? Because it's a class, and because it's private, the only way I want to modify it is if I modify it here. But obviously we want 50, so let me take that out. And yeah, you return the size, so let's make sure It's 5. Okay. Keep going. So now all these classes are able to access this size, right? We saw the execute class was able to access the size. Now, how do we exploit that to make sure container is able to start adding values and utilizing the size and everything? Well, utilize the size such that it could add the pig, right? And feel free to look at the example and everything from last week. Just be able to construct your thoughts when you tell me the answer.
All right. So wait. Okay. What was the question again?
So I got a container, right? And I got a pig.
Yep.
All I
Yep.
want is for the container to be able to add that pig. That's it. Nothing else.
Add that pig. So you got a pig object. So you have to.
So let me help you out, because this is I get that this is a very tough idea. Don't worry. So there are multiple ways to do this, and last week we used a list, but I'm realizing I kind of jumped ahead, because that might not be the first thing that comes into your head. A lot of times you want to make the mistake so you find the more optimal pattern. So I could have done this, and this will be partially right, and let me see if you guys can understand why. So you have the area for container, right? So just like that, add, right? And what is it we're adding? For now, just assume we have one animal that's a pig, right? How do I, at least, what is the parameter need to be then? So for this add function, you think? So the parameter, what's going in here?
Just the thing you want to add?
Yeah, but what is the thing I want to add here? Let someone else answer.
Pig?
Yeah. So how do I exactly? Don't go with your gut instincts, because it's gonna be right. So keep going. So how do I type that out?
Yeah, pig.
Yeah, pig. So that way, like even if even after not having finished the logic up, right off the bat, now this starts having functionality. Now it starts having a skeleton, right? So I could say add, and see already right there. Let me just miss that. Add pig, right? It's just telling your instance of this container of what to expect, right? So pig, there you go. Okay, but now we're missing the logic. So obviously now we have the function, but we don't have the logic. So what do you think we do? Forget the list. Think if there's another way to do it. This is the wrong way, and we'll find out why. But for now, what do you think we do? Remember, this say again?
Array?
Area, right, exactly. Well, yeah, array, I see what you're saying. But, no, I get what you're saying, the array. But that's not, I don't want to use the array because I have better options. But let's see what's wrong with this, let's say. So I know the container is a cube, and I know the cube has an area of 8 because of this, right? So what if I did this? Hang on. Give me a second. All right, so this is a separate, let's see what I put that area in square as. So this is where this private public status kind of gets annoying, but it's there for a good reason. So right now it's telling me to change the visibility of area. Let's see what it is now. Hang on, it's not going to it. Oh, it's over here. All right, let's see what I made. Let's see if this fixes it. Well, let me actually let the autocomplete do it. So again, a pig. So we got the pig, this dot. That was a mistake. What were we doing? All right, so we were having the add function in the area, and this is saying there's something wrong with the area field. So let me just click this and let's see what happens. So basically, anytime you extend from a class, this is just one of those small little details. Now you don't see the error anymore. Let me make sure. Now you don't see any errors anymore. So even though I'm extending from the cube, sometimes you want to keep that cube or square in this case. Maybe you might want to keep that specifically in square. Even though cube takes it and even though container takes it, for whatever reason, I don't think we'll go into exactly the reason here because it's not that important. But in this case, since area is pertinent to this container class, you just call it protected because otherwise I think it's usually assumed to be private or public. It's a small detail, don't worry, don't get too worried about that. All right, so I did this logic, right? Okay, so I added the pig. And what happens if I do this? What will I get? So this is all I typed. This is the only thing I added to this container. A method called add, it takes in a pig, and I just coded this logic, right? Now that I did that, just look through this, only 4 lines of code here, and tell me what you think is going to happen. What is going to be the value if I print this out?
Okay. It's gonna be 3
Right, why?
because it subtracted the area of the container with the size of the pig.
Right, which is 5, right? Pig get size and size over here. If you look at it, it's right 5, right? So 2 times 2 is 4. Subtract the pig size, and then you get the resulting area. And I was able to change the area because I said this dot area equals to something, right? So see what happens. And just like Fa said, it's a 3, right? Technically, this fulfills one of my requirements. The container is getting smaller and smaller, and let me even add to that. Let me actually change the pig size. So let's say it was a 3, right? Okay, what happens now? Oh no, sorry about that. Let me say pig 1. I could have done this, but I don't want to do it like that. So pig 1. So you got 2 pigs. I had pig 1 and I had pig 2. What's going to be the area now?
You change size to 2, right?
Why?
Because you added 2 pigs that are each size 3, so you subtracted 3 twice
Why? From what the area of what?
from the area of the container.
Which is 8, right? All right, so we print that and we get 2. Okay, and this fulfills one of my criteria, right? The size of the container is getting smaller. And I changed the pig's value of 3 because obviously I want to, 2 pigs of size 5 is going to exceed it, right? So obviously that fulfills it. But what's the problem with this method? This is just one of many alternatives I could have taken, right? But what's the problem with that? What if I wanted to get the size of the container? Size meaning, yeah, we got the square area of the container, right? But I'm not sure how many pigs I put in, right? How would I do that with this method?
Get area.
Yeah. So like the idea is I'm trying to kind of nudge you on to that, better solution, right? I fulfilled one of my criteria in that you're seeing the container space decrease, right? But there's no way to track what I actually put in. right? So how do I start doing that? Your hint is obviously you change the container class around, right? And obviously this logic will change around significantly. Well, not significantly. This logic is important, but let's say we're going to add on to it. So what do I do? What kind of additions do I do? Go ahead, Ish.
It's still a bad answer, but to fix that, you could instead of altering area, you could have a different variable called remaining area, and you subtract from that so that the area is always the same, but remaining area is what's changing.
But how would I know how many pigs I have in the container?
Yeah, that's not an issue. You would need a list for that, wouldn't you?
Right. That's what I'm getting at. So let's not worry about square space for a second. I'm just caring about, all right, now I did add the 2 pigs, right? But there's no way right now of knowing how many pigs I added without literally looking at, this, which is not something you want to do in programming. Because if this were hidden, there's no way I would know, right? So let's focus on that. And obviously you're getting in the right answer, so I want someone else to chip in. So you're modifying this, and I want to know that I want to be able to know the size of the container, right? Size meaning how many pigs are in the container.
So to do that, you need to make a list, right? You're
Right.
adding.
Just tell me exactly what you want me to type. Wherever, anywhere. How do you want me to start beginning?
You don't need a if else statement?
Yeah, but give me like a logical. Just tell me exactly what to type because I don't know where to put the if else statement.
Well, you have to make a variable for the
Okay.
area.
Where do you have the area variable? Area variable is in square, right? So that's already done. We already know it's 8, right? Ish, any ideas?
I'm not. How does the if else statement work into the problem?
Say again?
I'm not sure how the if else statement works into the problem.
So I mean we don't have an if else statement here.
Hold on. Okay.
Just yet. I mean, obviously I know we're getting to it, but as it is right now, remember I just want to add it and I want to get the amount of animals in the container, right? So how do I do that? So I think that's a better function name: get animals in the container, or get number of animals.
I mean, don't you want the? Are we avoiding a list?
No, not at all.
Oh,
That's the
yeah.
answer. No, I only segued it to someone else because you were arriving at the right answer. But okay, yeah, list. So how do I begin? The logic for that.
You want to import list first.
Right. I don't even think let Eclipse do that by itself. But tell me, what do you want me to do in the body?
Okay, so you want to you don't want to put into a function. You want to just create it outside the function.
Right. So somewhere on the top, right? That way you have easy reference to it. So if you create a function, you could you could refer to it. But go ahead. Tell me like what line and what do you want me to type?
So put it at the top.
Right.
So I think it's list, and then the type, which is gonna be pig for now. So you gotta
Right.
And okay, yeah. But you gotta put new array list.
Yeah, you could do that.
You have to do that?
Hang on. Say again?
Do you not have to do that?
No, you could do that if you want. I just usually prefer to instantiate the variables in the actual constructor. But for now, let's leave it at this because I know last time we did it in here. But this is fine too.
Okay. And then just delete that line 19.
Let's comment it for now.
Okay. So all you would do here is you do list dot add and then parentheses pig.
Okay.
And yeah, so the list I put the list I created the list instance outside the function because whether you add or not right now, the class itself needs a list to function. So that's why I put it on the outside, not in the function.
To at least keep track of the number of pigs you're putting in, right?
Yeah. So and if I put it in the function, then it would just create a new list every time I run add.
Right, exactly. So what Ish is talking about is, let me comment this out. So what he's saying is, so for instance, if I were to put add and add here, so here I used it twice, right? So just if you're ever, confused of should I put it here, should I put it in here, go to where you're actually instantiating it and, executing it and see what happens. So let's assume for now it's in here. So container.add pig1, okay? Well, you're creating a new list and then you're adding a pig. Okay, so far that seems all right. But if you go onto the line 20's container add, you're reinstantiating a different list. Remember, anytime you create a new array list, you're looking at another block of memory. So it just forgot what it did in line 19 over here. It added the pig here, then it's like, all right, you want to create another list, right? So it's pointing to another list and it's saying, all right, add pig there. So now you have two lists somewhere in the ether that has like one pig each, right? So for that to avoid that, that's when you want it to be globally scoped. That's the official terminology, meaning that instead of having it here, I'll comment this out now. So instead of having it here, this gets instantiated just once, right? Because you instantiated here just once, right? That's the term for it. And anytime you do the add function, you're just doing the add function right here, right? So you're referencing this each time. You're not creating a new array list like you did here. So small detail, but that's really important. Okay, so we got that logic so far. It's adding it to the list, right? But what's the problem now?
There's still no method to know what you put in.
Well, you got, you could continue building onto that list, right? But how do I know that, what do we say the size of the container is? 8, right? 2 by 2 by 2, right? So we could add it, but we could keep adding it, right? With this add function. How do I make the container class, how do I enrich it in a way where despite adding the pigs, it knows when to stop? Because remember, this has a fixed size to it. So far we could at least track the animals, and not just yet, but we're heading there. How do I start leaning on that 2 by 2 by 2?
That's where the if statement comes in.
Exactly. So how do I do that?
So you would get the area it is now after you added the first pig.
Okay.
So it'd be like like an int temp area or something.
So no, keep going. So you said, all right, so you get the area of, well, formulate your thoughts and tell me what you want me to type exactly. Or if you want me to type out the skeleton so it helps you visualize it, let me know. Let's say for now, let's assume there might be an if-else statement, right? Go on.
I'm saying
if area is greater than or equal to 0.
Okay, so let's say, well, tell me exactly what you want me to type.
Can we just use the area?
You just exactly, like you're explaining me in a high level sense, but explaining it in a high level sense will still result in error. So tell me specifically what you want me to type or delete, anything.
If this area.
Yeah, keep going. So if this, I'll put in stuff you're missing. So if this dot get area, okay.
Wait, it's supposed to be dot get area? I thought it was this dot area.
Oh yeah, you could do that, right? Either works, but let me see what you're trying to get at.
I'm gonna say this dot area. Oh, that's not a variable, right?
Let me see.
It is, I think.
Yeah, remember it's in the square class.
Okay, so if this dot area is greater than or equal to 0,
Greater than equal to 0.
then
And you could tell me to take this line 22 and put it somewhere else if you feel the need.
No, this dot area greater than equal to area of pig.
If this dot get area, well, if this dot area is greater than or equal to the area of the pig, that's what you're saying?
Do pig dot get size instead of 0.
If this is greater than equal to pig dot get size, okay, we could do that. So like this, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I don't know about that one.
No, you could change it around. I'm not saying any of this is right, by the way. You know, I'm just using it to let you guys have a template to visualize it. I could delete anything, I could add anything, I could modify anything.
Also 0, so it it can keep doing the function till it drops to 0 or below 0.
Right.
I mean, drops below 0.
Yeah, but that's you explaining it. Tell me what you want me to type.
Yeah, so this dot area greater than or equal to 0.
Wait, right here again?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I mean either works. I do see what Berm was saying, but for now, let's just go with files logic for now. But we'll go one at a time. Just 5. You know, you continue what you're saying.
And then you put like this dot area.
So now you're referring to the area here, which is 8 so far, assuming we're in, line 18. Well, line 14 when we're instantiating it, right? So, walk yourself through it.
So this dot area equals
You would add another pig, though, wouldn't you? If while this dot area is greater than 0, you're adding another pig.
add a pig.
Right, so do you want me to leave this here or do you want me to put it somewhere else? Well, for now, complete your logic here because it's not done. What do you want the area to be?
This dot area minus pig dot size.
Right, well, it's right here. I wanted to delete it, but I don't want to point you guys. So you're doing that, the area logic, right? So this dot area minus pig, which is referenced here, pig dot get size. Okay.
And then for else, you just put system dot out dot print line, not enough space.
Okay.
Drop the list dot add pig below the first if statement line.
Tell me exactly which line.
Above that, above this area, this dot area equals this
Right
dot
there?
area. Yeah.
Okay.
And then that's it.
You weren't looking at anything, right? This is all you?
I did look at it a little bit, but the if statement I did myself.
Okay, no, because I do want you to formulate it yourself. And we'll go back to why Bermel's method wouldn't have worked. Well, I think it might have worked. I didn't really take a close look at it. So explain to me what's going on here before I run it.
Basically, when they use the add function or method, it'll right away check if there's space in the container, and if there's space, which is obviously greater than 0, it'll add the pig, and then it'll update the area of the container, and if it happens to be less than 0 when you try to add, or equal to 0, it'll say. If it's less than 0, my bad. If it's less than 0, then it'll say not enough space.
Right. So you're adding it to this list, right? You're adding the pig, so you get the you're adding onto that list, right? So that's never thrown away like we had it in the other method. And on top of that, you're also subtracting the size of the pig, and the area gets smaller, right? All right.
But what's the size of that pig? It's what was it again?
It's 3. We decided right here.
So what if this dot area is 2?
If this dot area is 2, that's a good question. I didn't consider edge cases.
Technically, a pig won't fit, but according to this code, it will.
Well,
fit.
okay. Let's. You said if the size of the box was 2.
If you have 2 left, like size, whatever. Let's say you added a bunch of stuff and you have 2 left. We have an arbitrary number of 2
Right.
left, but the pig is size 3, so it won't fit. But according to this code, it will fit since this dot area is greater than or equal to 0. Well, that's why I said it should be greater than or equal to the size of the pig.
Let me see. No, that's a good point. Yeah, so what Berm is saying is, let's say you added 2 pigs to a size of, let's say the pigs were of size 3 each, and you had a box of size 8, and you subtract 3 from, because after the first 2 pigs are added, then you only have 3 is 2 left. Then you still get into this block, right? Because the area is still greater than or equal to 0, and you still add the pig, and you still subtract it, and you get a space of -1, right? Because 2 minus 3 is -1. So this logic is flawed. Yeah, that's a good point. So how do we fix that?
Well, that goes back to what I was saying. I don't know if it will work or not, but
Let's comment this out, and let's I missed the logic too. Good thing you pointed out. Go ahead.
Well, if it's the same thing, except greater than or equal to than the size of the pig. Greater than or equal to
this.
Can you do that? Can pig dot get size? Yeah. That way, as long as the box has enough space for the pig, you'll run the code.
Okay, just type out everything else. So
everything else is the same as
so like
the one you commented out.
All right, so let's add it, and let me see it because I'm not. So like this?
Yeah.
All right, let me look at it for a second. Yeah, this looks right. What do you guys think? Anything I'm missing here? But this makes sense as opposed to this because, as we mentioned, if you had a size of 2, you'd make the area negative, which doesn't make sense. And with this, remember, you're always subtracting the area, so that's still decreasing, right? So in that condition where it has a space of 2 left, right? If the area was of size 2, right? It would not be greater or equal to the size of the pig, which is 3, and it would just go to this, saying not enough space. This looks right to me. What do you guys think? Fa-ish? Anything you could point out? And we can, yeah, right. So it's a small little logic quirk. I missed it too. And just to prove, prove our point, let's add pig 3 as well. So ideally, what should happen?
It should not run. I mean, it will say not enough space.
Right. Okay. So that's the only thing to print out because we didn't print anything out with, we don't have any system printouts here. So let's run it. And there you go. Nano space. Perfect. Okay.
You got two semicolons there that still runs.
Where?
Where you added the third pig.
Oh, yeah. Because, yeah, that's what runs. I could have like a bunch of them, right? Technically, this is any statement. And you could have a, you know, a null statement or I'll still run. Small little quirk. All right.
So, yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay. All right. How do I? Okay. No. Off that logic, we have the add logic. We got the container. We got the cube. Okay. Now I want multiple containers. How do I do that? So let's assume. Let's assume this is the medium container, right? And I'll change it. That'll update all my references, so you guys will see this change to a medium container, right? And always, you want to click refactor, right click, refactor, rename it through here. Never do it manually. You want to let Eclipse handle all that. All right. Off that, go on. How do I start with a small container? Let's say the medium container is size 333 each. And all right, do the small and large for me.
Public small container.
All right.
I didn't go. Okay.
All right. Yeah, I could finish that up for you. Okay. And now since we got the pig, I think we're good for more animals. Let me start Xing this out. There's a lot of stuff here. Okay, so let's do chicken and cow. I know we did corn and stuff before, but let's not even bother with that. Let me just take a quick look to see if I missed anything, because now I think we could quickly go over the remaining ideas, and we should be good. I know this lesson is kind of dragging out. Let's see, we've been here since 7:45. All right, no, we still have like 30 minutes. So I think in the last few minutes we'll cover the. We're about, I'd say like 70% done. So I'd say it's good to just wrap it up because there's only like one more idea literally left, which is abstraction, and you'll see what I mean by that. And Ish brought it up before, and I'll let you guys know what he was talking about. But he was talking about a generic container, and I don't want to bring that up for a specific reason, and you'll see why. So I got the cow. Okay. Let's give it. Just for now, let's just say 8. Cows are big. Let's make the chicken. Let's say 2. And I'm just filling it in for the sake of time, but obviously you guys see that the cow, well, we started with the pig. We gave it a size of 3, and now all I'm doing is, coding up the get sizes. And let me know if you need me to stop, but the rest of it is, mundane because we went over it, so I don't want to belabor it. Get size, return size. Okay, so we got our animals ready. Now I want you guys to do this yourself. Not in your computer just yet, because I'm gonna push all this. But let me see if I want to do all that. No, I don't think it's gonna add any value. So okay, tell me this though. What's the only thing? Assume I'm gonna copy and paste right away, right? What's the only things I'm changing here? For now, all right. For now, let's still assume pig, and we'll veer off into a cow and chicken later. For now, just assume pig. What is it that I'm changing here for the other containers?
You're changing the what's it called? The first thing. What's it called? The starts with the C.
Yeah. Constructor.
Constructor.
Yeah.
There
What
you go.
exactly though?
Well, it's gonna be a different size, no? For a
Right,
different
clearly. So this we're gonna modify, right? Whatever value we choose, and the medium container, the actual name. All right, so let's copy and paste each. So everything else is the same so far because the logic is the same. All right, and you see a lot of it just auto imports. Small.
Whoa.
And now let's start changing this stuff around. Large container, and I want manageable 309, 27. All right, let's just leave it at 4. I don't want crazy sizes. That's already what, 64. And small container. Right, all this should be very straightforward. Let me see what else is wrong. Oh, what else am I missing? So now we got the small container and large container. Anything else missing that you notice? Take note of the underlines, the red underlines.
So you can't you're not extending it, so you
Right.
gotta.
Yeah, exactly. What am I not extending from?
cube.
Exactly, right? So it says area. Where's that area coming from? It doesn't even know, right? So this is where you see directly. You can't just have that super method in a vacuum. It needs to know what it's supering into. So let's do that. Import cube. Large container, same thing. Import from the cube.
Extend.
You're right, yes. My bad. Extends from the cube. Did I do that same mistake here? No, I'm good. Large container, still in error. I didn't import. So little small details like that you'll get used to. Just hover over it. All right, so we got the large container, medium container, and the small container. Not only that, we also got the pig, the cow, the chicken. All right, forgot to privatize that. Private. Okay. Let me just give me a quick second. Let me see if anything else is. Let me bring them up now of what we just did. Let me bring the execute class up as usual, and I'm going to delete all that. All right. Got the cow, got the chicken, got the pig. What do we say? All right, now just looking at them, right? You got the pig right here, chicken right here, cow right there. What do we say is the one thing we always want to do? I don't know if it's a very broad question, but what's the problem here, would you say, looking at each of these? I mean, they're individually, they're all right. Say again?
You don't want to repeat?
Yeah, I'm repeating everything. I'm repeating the size, even though it's the same thing for each of these. Technically, yeah, their sizes are different, right? But if you see, all the logic is repeating, right? You got the size, you got the get size method. All these animals technically behave the same, with the only thing differing is this value. Literally nothing else is nothing else needs bare repeating, I should say. right? So there's this, the last idea is the idea of abstraction, and that it helps a lot to kind of reduce the fat of your code. And we're gonna, veer off into the containers after, because just like anywhere you notice repetition, hone in on it and see if you could, reduce the fat. So this is what I'll do. Just like the, you got the cow, chicken, and pig. Why not just create an animal class, right? But there's a particular thing. So why I focused on animal just now, because at least with the animals right now, we didn't extend off the cube, so not to further complicate it. So since we have this size, and since we have the get size method, right? What can we do right off the bat? What do you think we do?
You list out all the animals.
Well, anything we went over before that, like, kind of lets you answer that question. So I got the animal class, chicken, pig, and cow, right? What do I do right now to,
You extend it.
okay. So let's say they're all extending from animal.
Yeah, and then you could put that whole get size function in the animal class.
Yeah. Okay. So okay, yeah, my bad. I was thinking about something else. Okay. So all I did right now is just copy and paste this to here. But what's the problem right now?
Well, size wouldn't be 8.
Size wouldn't be 8 because it's a generic class, right? So
Yeah.
I could take that out.
So would you make that into a method instead?
What do you mean? Well, let's focus on, for now, let's just focus on cow, and it extends animal. What can we at least, let me take this animal class, let me move this down, and this is a nice way to look at it, because you got the animal over here, and then you got the execute class, right? So focus on cow for now, and then we'll move on to chicken and pig. So now that we see that the cow extends from the animal, how can we reduce the fat of this? Think of the boxes, right? We went to square and then we went to cube. I'm not gonna put it up just because it'll give away the answer. Actually, no, feel free to look at your whatever we had for cube. I know whatever we pushed should be, it should give the answer, but just look at it and tell me what you think you do with the cow for now.
Cow. You make a constructor
Okay.
of the cow. You take in the size
Okay.
from the animal class.
Well, go on what you're saying.
So you just super. Then you would bring in the size.
You mean like, yeah, go on. Yeah.
So you would do super animals dot size.
Like this?
Well, animals dot size. Oh wait, no, would you need to do that? Oh wait, no, hold on.
So now assume, obviously I get what you're getting at, right? And I want to do it such that, no, I see what you're saying. So let's move, just to make it, no, but I get what you're saying. You're seeing the size of 8 and you're saying you want to kick it up here, right? Just like you did the cube.
Yeah, and then.
Right.
But then isn't that redundant? Like if you already have it in the code in the cow class, that it's 8.
Give me a second. Right, exactly. So, what do you think you do? You're on the right track. It is redundant. But remember, since it's extending off an animal, it has all these properties, right? So why am I listing it out here again? You get what I'm saying? Why do I have line 10? Why do I have lines 12 to 14? If I'm extending off an animal.
Well, you don't need those lines.
Right.
But
exactly. So take them out?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's comment it out. So, just so you get the clear picture. But you're on the right track. But you have your doubts. But, what are they? What do you think? So you got the cow such that it gets instantiated, right? And we didn't import it. That's why you're getting this. Okay. So I get what you're saying. You're confused by the fact that we did list out the, previously we were forced to put each of these with the individual values of the size, right? Is that what that's the right question to ask.
Well, I'm saying why do you need an animals class when you can just put in the size of the animal? Oh wait, just to not repeat ourselves. So then,
exactly.
So in the animals class, you would need to put the size of each animal.
Right. No, not the size of each animal, right? Because, for instance, if I'm extending, just like you could make 2 cubes, right, of different sizes. 1 cube of size of 8, 1 cube of size 64, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this case, let's say I wanted to make 2 cows. But just like we said before, unlike shapes, we want cows to have that same size. How would I represent that? I could do this, for example. This is a small thing right here. Right. So just like the boxes, I could do. Hang on. Why do I keep getting? Okay. Yeah. I just had to save it, and you always get tapped. What's wrong with this right here? I mean, there's no errors, but what is wrong based on the logic we wanted to program out?
Well, you're inputting the size of the cow.
Say again?
The X cube. Put 4 and 22.
Right. I don't want multiple cow size values because the end user could do 4 and 22, right?
Right. You don't want that.
Right. I don't want that. So how do I fix that? Just like we fixed the box example. And fine ish. You guys can speak up if you want.
No, I'm watching.
Okay.
Sign everything.
So it extends the animal, but I don't want the end user to have that ability, to change the size around. So how do I do that again?
Make it private.
Say again?
Make the size private.
Size where?
Oh wait, it's already private. Well, you don't need a parameter at all.
Exactly, right? Because I don't want him to have that ability, right? But I do want that cow to have that size, which is a very simple answer.
Yes, you just
So you put it in.
Yeah, I just
In
put it
there.
in directly. I hard code it, right? So we decided on 10, so let's leave it at that. So,
That's
any-
what I'm saying. If you have hard coding into each one, why do you need the animal class?
why do I need the animals class? So I don't have to, put this in. I don't want to define a separate, private in size. I don't want to use the whole get size method because just like the cube and the square, it's already pre-programmed here. I know it's not like a huge difference, right, for now, but once you have, this is already technically, this is like half the lines reduced. This is one line, this is two. Just a very small detail, but it matters.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I can delete all that, right? So, I know it didn't look like much, but if I take all the comments out, you could really see it, right? Now a cow is reduced to an animal, and this clearly indicates that the only thing different is the size, right? But not only that, well, let me finish it up. All right, no errors, and you could already see the lines of code decreasing. But how could we make this even better? Slight detail. What's that one thing we remembered, or you guys kind of forgot the keyword for? Like, I don't even want to remember this idea of remembering to, put the size as 3. You get what I'm saying?
To super.
Exactly, right? But there's a problem with using super right away. What is it? This is a slight detail, but basically all classes have it such that, like, technically this is the starting constructor, right? And this being the starting constructor, this doesn't have any logic to it. It's just saying, all right, you got the, you do have a default constructor, right? So why don't I just do this? Oh, never mind. I just realized, no, forget what I just said. Because if I did this, you guys know what I'm saying. So if I did this, and let's say I was expecting a size, right? No, I can't do it. Never mind. Sorry, I was confusing myself. So let's see if that works. So why not, instead of this dot size equals 10, you get it? It's very, very minor variation, but it kind of adds on to the fact that always, reduce the fat. Like, say I was programming this and I didn't even want to think about, manipulating the size. Like, whatever a cow is, the only idea, the very increment, the most, atomic value is just this 10. That should be different. And if I wanted to find out more, I extend it to the animal. I go to the animal class, and all I did was command click to it, and then I see, what's going on here, right? And let this handle the logic, the parent class. So let's change that around. Okay. So what do you think you change around here now?
That's the medium container class.
No, so right now the medium container is all right? We switched it based on medium, large, and small. So that's fine. But what else can you spot? Now that we changed the animal, right? if I were to do this, let me bring out execute again. Sorry. Let me put. All right. Okay. So now let's say I had a medium container. All right. And then I had a cow. So far, so good. Why is that throwing me an error?
Medium container dot add cow.
Let me bring out the medium container class.
You didn't create a, because you only created one method that accepts pigs.
Right. You're on the right track. And we did a bunch of references to pig. There's a pig right here. There's a pig right here. All of that, right? How do you think what do you think, deduce it, what do you think a good way to handle that is?
Animals. Can you do animals instead?
Right, because we branched off. Remember, the cow is an animal, pig is an animal, chicken, and if we decide to add a whole, 50 other types of animals, as long as they extended off the animal class, we don't have to worry about making, like you said, 100 different methods of add. Like, we could have done this, technically. Right? And we could have copy-pasted the entire... This is only giving you an error because of imports. Should be. Let me make sure of that. Yeah, import. Don't worry about that. We could have done it like this, but imagine 50 animals, right? Do you want to add 50 add methods all with different parameters? Of course not. That's completely violates that don't repeat yourself principle, right? So tell me exactly what you want me to do.
So change list to list animals.
So yeah, let's start here first. And let's import animal. Okay. Anything else?
Do public void pig add pig. This. Would you change that parenthesis where it says pig? Would you change that to animals?
Yeah, exactly. Because remember, pig is extending from animals, and if we make it generic, let me just change all that around. And you can call it animal pig technically. It won't ruin the. It won't throw off any compile errors. But obviously, you want this to for your own sake, call it animal. Call it change all the instances of animal. And now. You don't see any errors, right? Now I could add a cow, and I could add a pig into the same container, right? So let's see. What did it say? The medium container is of size 3 times 9, 27. So we could add. So let's try it. So will this fit? Let me see. So I think it was a 2, 5, and 10, right? So that would be 17. And this is what, 27. So if I were to do this, if I were to run that, what do you think the output would be?
Right now, it will be the area minus whatever the size of the cow is.
Oh, my bad. I didn't add the rest. Okay, now what?
Well, medium container, the area of it minus.
Well, don't tell me what it does. Just tell me what's gonna happen if I click run.
we give the remainder of the area. So what is cow, pig, and chicken again?
Oh no, my bad. Yeah, you're right. I was thinking of no, my bad. Okay, you're right. Right. I was completely forgetting how that worked. All right, what would happen now? I said just a sec.
That you would just add. You wouldn't get anything. You're not printing anything
Why not?
because you're not printing anything. But you are adding a cow, a pig, and a chicken to the medium container.
What do you mean we're not printing anything?
Well, you commented out the system print ln.
Yeah, but what's the thing with the medium container? Do you see any print methods here? Remember how
Yeah, but it'll fit.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it'll all fit because the total value is 10, 15, and then what was it, 17 altogether. And since the area is 27, if you hit this, nothing, right? But let's put 2 more cows in. Now,
Not enough
out of
space,
space,
right?
right. Because 1 cow, I mean, if we take this out, I think it should just be just enough to fit. But once we add here, it's not. And if you even add a chicken at this point, this is obviously referring to the same instance. Not how, I wanted to code that logic because each should be an individual chicken, but don't worry about that too much. And now you get, why do we get one?
Not enough space. That's right.
But it should have done it twice, no?
No, because after it runs the else statement, doesn't it stop?
No. It's supposed to, let me give you an example. So that should happen once, but I should have it again. It's probably like a small twist of logic. I'm not sure. But that's not, I mean, it is important, but there's probably something we messed up here. Probably worth looking into later. But technically, anytime you add an animal that's excess, let me make sure. Let me know if you guys spot anything.
It's going to work. It should only be once because it would keep running the if statement until it runs out of space. Then it would run the else statement once, and then it would stop. It wouldn't keep running it.
No, but you see, if you added it once, right? So let's say you did it here, and if I print and run, right? Or let's do it. Let's do it like this. So you can see each instance of it. Okay, so now we have a clear.
Right. So it keeps running the if statement
Right,
while
give me a second.
it's true.
Let me do this. Animal added. Let's say. Right. So. Okay, so this gives you a much better picture, right? So first you added a cow, since this is side 10, 17, right? Pig, 14, chicken, 12, another cow, 2 space remaining. You try to add another one, not enough space. But if I were to do... Oh, you see what happened?
No.
How big is the chicken?
2.
Yeah. So
So that'll
technically,
work.
yeah, technically,
Wait, what?
yeah. So we try to add the cow here, right? Since there's only 2 space remaining, obviously we didn't have enough space for the cow.
Oh, okay, right,
Yeah,
right.
but since the chicken is exactly 2, we were able to add the animal, and then 0 space was remaining. Yeah. That makes sense?
Yeah, but I didn't. Okay, I thought you were saying if you added another cow now.
Oh no, now nothing will work. Let's try to add the now if you can add a chicken at this point. So I just spoke too early. That was the only difference. Now you only have a space for another chicken.
But then if you try to add something else again, is it going to say not enough space again?
Right. Let's put in a cow. Right. Because right now, you remember, since the chicken took up that remaining 2 space remaining, and remember, that container is referring to that same exact medium container, right?
Mm-hmm.
So every time you add on to it, it updates, right? Keeps updating. And now anytime after this, line 29 or whatever, it's just going to keep saying not enough space because, you take up, you decrement each time you use the, add method. Right?
I gotcha. I get what happened. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
All right, so this is mostly over. There's only one last thing in that we didn't change up. We didn't change this up. Do you guys? No, I think we could leave it at that, and I'll let you guys do it. But this is kind of the end of it. Basically, I think I'll let you guys do this for homework, and just to finish that up. We got a few containers left. So obviously, since you have the add logic for each container, you don't need to add the add logic. You don't need to add the list. The only thing different, just like the animal classes, was this, right? So just like this time you could extend from a property class that extends from a cube. Just try to wrap your head around that. But it's a very so you make a separate let's say container class. You let that container class extend from the cube, right? And then you let the large container extend from the, so just to...
That's what you did in the example, the one we did last week.
Oh, did I already do that?
Yeah, that's probably what Ish was talking about.
Yeah,
when he said,
yeah, I see it. Let me make sure. I don't even remember. No, you're thinking of something else, but I could see it's not the same thing. Yeah, forget about that. There's just one extra thing I didn't put here. This right here. But all this just acts as like a separate repository for these numbers too. So just to make it neater and nicer, the only thing different is I referred to a separate class where I could refer to their values directly. But that wasn't what I'm referring to. What I'm referring to here, what I want you guys to do, and I'll assign now technically you do have the ability to make a short Pokemon game. The logic is not too different, but for now just finish that up. So basically you'd create a separate container class, right? And then you'd extend from it, but I'll let you guys figure that out because the logic isn't too different, but we should be good. Thanks for sticking with me. I know that was like basically 2 hours long, but we won't have the second class because we covered pretty much most of what we need to know for now. But I'm gonna assign the Pokemon homework, and that's what I'd rather have you kind of wrap your head around on your own, so you could start it from scratch. So unless we want anything else to cover, we should be good. And I'll specify what I want in the Pokemon project. Are you guys good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's next? Is are we still learning more Java, or are we moving on to?
We're pretty much good for Java at this point. This is pretty much, after you master that homework, we should be good. Next week, depending on where BJ is with the app that I want you to test against, we're just gonna run through the app. And we're gonna start learning actual automation. So that's where we're gonna go from next week.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Good. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, guys. Later.
Cool. Later.